I'm talking about something that has confused me, confounded me, made my life difficult ever since I became a participant in the NDIS, and that is funding. Funding, as I said, has been a very, very difficult thing for me ever since I became a participant in the NDIS. So, before I introduce my guest, I'll explain what happened. I was first self-funded, which I quite enjoy, or self-managed, I should say, not self-funded. Self-managed, which I was quite happy to be, until I tried to work out what categories to put where, what line to put items on, what I was doing right, what was I doing wrong. Let's have a panic about it. And it all went into a great big mess, and things changed, which I'll explain later. So let me introduce to you our expert today, Cassie Patterson, who is from Hervey Bay Plan Management. Hi, Cassie.
Hi, Rod.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm all right, considering it's a bit cold, although summer's coming.
It is coming very soon.
So tell me, I'll just explain. You do plan-managed plans, not the
Yes.
self-managed. Self-managed people do their own.
Yes.
You are an agent. You don't do the agency management because you're not the agency. You are the person right in the middle of those two, which is called plan manager.
Yes. So I run Hervey Bay Plan Management. That's my business. And basically, as Rod said, I'm a plan manager. So there's obviously the three different types of plan funding: self-managed, NDIA managed, or plan managed. When it comes to being with a plan manager, we pay the invoices on your behalf.
And what is the advantage? Well, first of all, the advantage for me was that I didn't have to worry about where to put things.
Yes.
Okay. But what are what do you see as the big advantages in plan management?
The big advantages of plan management is just it gives you time to do what you need to do. So the biggest reason why I find people will come to me as a plan manager is firstly because they don't have the capacity to self-manage, but they still want the freedom in their plan. The big difference between NDIA managed and self-managed is firstly that with NDIA managed you need to use NDIS registered providers. With self-managed you can use any provider. And the other difference is with NDIA managed you need to stick to the NDIS price guide and support catalogue. With self-managed, you don't need to do that.
So you mentioned NDIA and self-managed, but
Yes.
you're in the middle. So what's
Yes.
the situation with those in the middle?
So plan management is directly in the middle of that. So the perks of plan management is you don't need to use NDIS registered providers. You can use any provider that you'd like to, as if you were self-managed, but you do still need to stick to the NDIS price guide and support catalogue.
Now, when you say stick to it, that means up to. You can be under it, can't you?
Yes, you can be under the prices listed in the support catalogue, but you can't go above them.
So basically, if we said someone was charging $50 an hour, if that was the maximum on the price guide, you could pay them up to that.
Yep.
If you were self-managed and they were 55, you can pay them that.
Yes, if you're self-managed, you can negotiate, and if you'd like to pay more, you can. As plan managed or NDIA managed, you need to stick to that maximum hourly rate in the price guide.
Do you know why they allow you to pay more when you're self-managed? Doesn't sort of make a lot of sense to me.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me either, honestly. I know with NDIA managed, you need to stick to the price guide and support catalogue because it's all very automated. It's all automated through their system. As to why you need to stick to the price guide with the plan manager, I'm not entirely sure.
Not sure what the difference is between the two, really. The NDIS is changing all the time.
Yes.
The line funding is changing all the time.
Yes, it is.
See that, folks? You actually look at the camera and raise those eyebrows again and say, yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
So, does that make it hard for you to keep up with what's going on?
For me, not so much. I make sure that I try my best to stay on top of all the changes, but if something changes, I'm going to find out either way. If I put in a claim for something and it's under a line item that they've changed, I'm going to find out when it doesn't get paid.
Now, as a self-managed person in the beginning, and you've put me through a course that, if I remember, we'll talk about later, because I need to be self-managed for reasons. When I go overseas, it's handy to be self-managed rather than plan managed in some ways.
Yeah.
But when I first started, I really didn't know where to put things. And when I asked for advice, not from you, from other people, to be quite honest, they didn't know where to put things either, folks. And you were getting different answers from different people. I'm not saying they were giving me the wrong answers on purpose. What I'm saying is they really didn't know. And that's the problem. So when someone goes through a plan management, so I was always worried that I was going to get in trouble, that I did something wrong. If they go through a plan manage person, does that kind of indemnify them because it's not their fault anymore?
That has actually been something that has been of concern in recent months with plan managers in the NDIS. As plan managers, we are not gatekeepers. So it's known to us that we're not allowed to tell participants no unless something is very absurd that wouldn't be covered. But basically we are here to advise. So we can tell a participant if something is covered under their funding plan or not. But if a participant absolutely wants something put through their plan, it's the onus of making sure that it's reasonable and necessary is on the participant.
But surely, if, say someone, and I've heard of this happening,
Yeah.
someone says, I'm going to get my teeth fixed under the NDIS, which is,
Yes.
of course, a big no, folks. You can't do that. Otherwise, mine would look better. But the thing is, you can't do that. But I've heard of people that just do it.
Yes.
Now, can they instruct you to do that, and will you do it, and then it's their fault? Or what happens?
There is a real grey area in there because I'm told I can't be a gatekeeper as a plan manager. So by that, if a participant tells me to put it through, I kind of have to. But in the same instance, I'm going to educate that participant and tell them that it's not covered by their plan, and I'll tell them exactly what would happen if it would get caught out. The risk of that is that the NDIS might reduce your funding. They will make you pay it back.
It's fraud.
Yes,
basically.
it is fraud. So there can be criminal charges if it's proven that you were aware that it was wrong when you did it. And they can force you to change your funding style. If you're seen to do the wrong thing as a plan managed participant, they'll assume you're going to be doing the wrong thing as a self-managed participant. The only other option is NDIA managed, which is restrictive.
Now, you obviously know that people can't have their teeth done.
Yes.
So if people keep requesting things that you know are wrong, can you withdraw as their plan manager and say, look, I'm just not prepared to be your plan manager because you're putting my reputation on the line as well?
Yes, for ethical purposes, if a situation is seen to be not ethical, we absolutely can end the service agreement.
Hold it up. You froze for a bit, but you're back.
Sorry,
I
what
don't-
happened there?
I don't know. It's all right. It's Carl's producing. He thought he liked that shot of you, so he's just grabbed it. So what you were saying, just to be sure, you can withdraw if you want on an ethical ground.
So if the situation is seen to be not ethical and the participant isn't willing to work with me, I can withdraw as their plan manager. There's usually a clause for that in the service agreement that we sign with participants so that either party can withdraw from the agreement.
Conversely, they can withdraw if they're not happy with what you're doing as well.
Absolutely.
Even mid-plan,
Yes.
and get another plan manager.
Yep, if a participant isn't happy with what we're doing as a plan manager, of course you would recommend that they speak with their plan manager first to try and figure it out. A lot of the time it might be something easy that can be figured out quickly and you won't have the hassle of uprooting. But if you're not happy with the plan manager you're with and you do want to change, that can be done.
I guess, if it's not too personal a question, what does a plan manager get paid per participant at the moment?
Per participant at the moment, with how the price guide is currently, there is a setup fee. So when a participant onboards or gets a new plan, there is a fee of $235.
For the whole year?
Yes, or $232.35, sorry, for the setup fee. And then every month thereon, we get $104.45 per participant.
Now, I know how much work I make you do.
Yes.
Not supposed to agree. When you look at some of the seemingly ridiculous fees charged by people to give NDIS services, being honest, do you think that's enough money?
That is a topic that comes up with plan managers. It evens out. For me, I'm one of the lucky ones. I have a few participants who are high needs who do supply me with a lot of work and I'm constantly processing invoices for. But I have other participants who are very low need, don't use a lot of services, and that I only do something for every couple of weeks. So for me, particularly, it evens out. for other plan managers who might have a different set of clients, who are, a lot of them are high need, it definitely doesn't feel like enough for them.
Do you think plan managers in general could give more specific, specialised help and better, depth of help if the funding was greater?
I think
Because
it's
they could take less
definitely-
participants.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to have as many to make a living. You could.
I think it's definitely a possibility. I think we're also limited as to what our role is with the NDIS as well. Like, regardless of what I'm getting paid, I'm doing as much as I can for my participants. But there also is a bit of a crossover with some of our position with support coordinators when it comes to budgeting. I can try and help my participants budget, but if the support coordinator is setting up supports, or even if the participant is setting up their own supports, I can only budget what I'm aware of. So a lot of the issue that I have with participants is that service agreements are entered into and they're never sent to me. So as a plan manager, I don't know. I guess if they were being sent to me, or if I had a bit more time to spend with the participants, then I would be able to provide more tailored help in that aspect. But as it stands, we, as plan managers, budget as best we can. We let the participant know when their funding is getting low. We're always here to answer questions. So if a participant wants to know where their funding is at, which you've done with me, you did with me
A number
recently.
of times.
Yep.
I did it just this week because
Yep.
my plan is coming to an end and I'm wondering if I'm going to make it.
Absolutely. So I can look into the history of your spending, what I know you're going to be spending going forward, and give you a bit of an update as to where your funding's at, what we think you're going to have left. So I don't think that it's an issue of we can't do that unless we have extra funding, but I think that with
It would
certain
help.
participants,
Would certainly
with certain participants, we do spend extra time and we do more work than we are paid for.
Yep, that's a good answer, and I think that's a fair answer because
Yeah.
some of the fees are absolutely ridiculous. The you know, look, and I mean it's funny how it works because I was on the self-funding and then I changed over to you because the NDIS said I should because I wasn't getting it right because people weren't giving me the right advice, and some of it was my fault, but a lot of it was misinformation or lack of knowledge.
Yes.
And by the way, I was then able to do a course which you put me through,
Yes.
which will allow me to be self-managed again. And if someone wants to start off plan managed but wants to learn, you can do that course with them, can't you?
Absolutely, as long as the NDIS have provided them funding for it, but there also is the possibility for self-managed participants to enlist the help of a plan manager or someone else to help them. There is a line item for assistance with self-management. So there is a possibility for either a plan manager or a bookkeeper or just someone that has
you could be
knowledge.
self-managed but still have the assistance of a plan manager by using a line item in your self-management.
Yes, so in that capacity,
Confusing, isn't it?
using that line item, I wouldn't be able to claim the invoices for a participant. So the way that plan management works is I claim the money from NDIS, they pay it to me, and then I pay the invoice. If I was using that line item and charging a participant under their plan, they would still do all of that themselves.
And trust me, folks, it's worthwhile letting them do it because it's much easier. I'll give you an example. Before I went across to plan management, I had some home mods done. And, of course, they came and did all the work and they did a good job. And then I had to pay them, but I thought I'd gone on to the... Carl's telling me to look at that camera. Look at that. See, now you can see the side of my nose. They said, you've got to pay, and it either went into my junk mail or I thought you had it or something happened, and it didn't get paid. And then, I mean, they eventually got paid, but then I wanted them to do more work for me, and they said, no, you didn't pay quick enough, we're not doing more work for you. So, and I think that was ridiculous because nobody did anything wrong. But the point is, you don't have to worry about any of that when you're doing it for them. It just happens. I don't even know. I keep getting these receipts from my gardener, and I went, oh, I didn't send you the bill. But because he sends the bill or the invoice to Cassie, Cassie does the payment, and all I do is get the receipt, correct?
Yeah. So it's definitely handy for people who don't have the capacity to self-manage or who just don't have the time or just don't want to.
Just very quickly, what are the advantages you see, because I'm asking you as a devil's advocate,
Yep.
in self-management?
Self-management, I know that a lot of people, and this is from forums that I'm part of and people that I've spoken to who have been self-managed and plan managed, a lot of people who are self-managed feel that they get a bit more freedom. They don't have to stick to the NDIS price guide and the support catalogue. So there is more freedom in how much you pay your providers. They feel like, I know there are some self-managed participants who have had experiences with plan managers that they weren't a fan of. Some plan managers they felt take too long to pay, or some plan managers do act as a gatekeeper even though they're told they're not supposed to. So
Only because they're trying to help.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah, and I guess
How dare they help?
Yeah, how dare we? But I guess that there are self-managed participants who feel like that is a benefit to them. They're not having to answer to someone else. But also it's just you have your freedom.
Yeah, there is a bit. And when I travel overseas, it's much easier for me just to pay the people and then be refunded. Because, folks, when you're self-managed, you pay and then the money comes back into your own personal bank account. So you do have a lot more. You can look at it and see a lot more of what's going on, but it's a lot more work. I'd much prefer you to do the work. Yeah. Now, can I have half and half? Can I have some areas of my plan managed and some self-managed? So could I have my core self-managed and my capacity building plan managed?
Yes, absolutely. You can request to have certain parts of your plan self-managed, plan managed. You can even request to have certain parts NDIA managed if that's what you want. You can have, I have seen plans come through where half of the core was plan managed and half was self-managed.
Really? I didn't know you could do that.
It's only been a couple that I've seen.
How does that work?
It's just what the participant requested, obviously.
You pay 50 cents of the apple and I pay the other 50. I don't know.
I think it would be some invoices would come to me as the plan manager and some they would put through themselves. But it has been done. I would assume it could be done again. But with different plan categories, you could even have part of your capacity building self-managed and then a different category of your capacity building to be plan managed.
At one point, I don't know if it was you, but someone who was a plan manager said to me, as long as you've got $1 of your plan managed, we can help you a lot more than if you had nothing. How does that? What does that mean?
What happens is no matter how much of your plan is plan managed, I get paid the same thing. So you could have your whole plan managed, I still get my $104.45 a month, or you could have one category plan managed and the rest self-managed, I still get paid the same thing. So I can provide you the same amount of assistance regardless.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So if someone's unhappy with their plan manager, they can register complaints with the NDIS or whatever.
Yes.
It would never happen with you because
I would hope not.
I'm having a good time with you and all that sort of thing. Look, I think pretty much just one thing, can they change to halfway through? If they're halfway through their plan and their plan managed, can they change to self-managed in the middle of a plan?
Changing funding management style requires a plan review, or sometimes they can do it through a light touch review, but you would receive a new plan for it. You can change to a different plan manager partway through your plan, no problem. But
not the mode of...
No, changing your funding style. I don't think NDIS have implemented doing that without changing to a new plan completely yet.
And the last question, do you think it should be one, either compulsory or just very helpful? If, excuse me, if a new person goes onto the NDIS, or if a person wants to become self-managed and they've been plan managed, it's my belief that they really should have to do that course that you did with me. I think it should be a thing that is required for people to do before they become self-managed. It would take a lot of stress out of what they do. How would you feel about that as a thought?
I guess it depends. I definitely see where some people it would be beneficial for, and I've had participants come to me who have gone plan managed because it was their first year and they wanted to familiarise themselves with the NDIS before looking at going self-managed. Yeah, but I think it depends for different people. There are some people who come into it, they might have had previous experience with the NDIS, they might have a family member that's on it, or if they're a parent with a child, they might have another child that's on it, or they might have just done some really detailed research before coming into the NDIS so they can hit the ground running as self-managed without needing that. But I definitely think that for certain people, for people like yourself, it would have been beneficial for that.
Sure would have for me, I can tell you. Sure would have for me, yeah. So, give yourself a plug. Where are you from? Where do they find you? How do they find you? Apart from on accessibleglobe.social, but we'll talk about that later. Where else could they find you?
Okay, so my name's Cassie. I'm from Harvey Bay Plan Management. My website is www.hbplanmanagement.com. Other than that, you can find me on Google.
Silly
Search
question.
Harvey Bay Plan Management.
If someone is in Melbourne watching this
Yes.
and they go, she looks like she'd be a good plan manager to me, there's no reason they couldn't have you anyway.
No reason. As plan managers, we're registered Australia-wide, so I can service clients anywhere.
You can't come around for coffee and cake like we do, but and sometimes she brings the coffee and cake, folks, or the cake, which is lovely. But look, it's been great talking to you. Would you be happy to come back on a panel sometime in the future where participants ask questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's been fun for me. This has been Cassie from Harvey Bay Plan Management. Before we finish today, I just want to thank all the people that have been helping us out, most of them here in Harvey Bay. Hello World Travel, who are putting together our trip to Thailand next June, let's hope, COVID permitting. Totally Mobile, who have all sorts of ranges of scooters. They do repairs, they have all sorts of mobility aids. We've got AOMI, who can make your house so automatic they can even make your producer look at. No, they can turn lights on and off, they can open doors. They do specialised houses for people with dementia, which is really amazing. We've got, of course, Simple Solutions, who have been wonderful for me. They do training, they have support coordinators. Excuse me, they have support workers. They are a company. They're not a company that can stop me coughing, but they are a company that really, really cares here in Harvey Bay. Don't forget, Carl, you get to do your favourite bit, subscribe, because whilst we're getting quite a few thousand watching on Facebook, please subscribe to our YouTube. If you do, Carl might stop me from getting a flat head next time. See, look at that. Anyway, maybe, because we've got to pay him more, so he'll do that. So we need you to subscribe to the YouTube. Thank you very much for being part of the spin. We'll just say a quick goodbye to Cassie again, because she's been waiting so long. See you, Cassie.
See ya. Thanks for having me.
No worries. See you next time, folks, on the spin.